You don't have many friends. And people label you antisocial, weird, sometimes even a failure. But listen closely. Having few or no friends can actually be one of the strongest signs of high intelligence and emotional maturity. You're not broken. You simply have a different nervous system, a different filter, a different kind of happiness fuel. Today, I'm going to show you 5 scientific reasons why your solitude is not a weakness. It's a biological advantage. And by the end of this video, you may stop trying to fit in altogether. Let's start with the first difference in your brain, the one that explains why you can't collect friends by quantity the way other people do. Reason 1, a biological filter for authenticity. Let's begin with something very simple. You don't have a small circle of friends because you lack social skills, and it's not because you're hard to like. It's because your nervous system has a strong filter for anything that feels fake. Have you ever met someone who was smiling, laughing, seeming perfectly friendly, and yet, after just a few minutes, something inside you felt off? They didn't do anything wrong. Your battery just dropped, fast. Small talk, endless surface level conversations, they don't just bore you, they drain you, physically. So why does this happen? Because your brain is wired to process information deeply. When an interaction lacks meaning, your nervous system reads it as noise and automatically filters it out. Like a chef used to real food, you can't survive on fast food for long. In psychology, this is often linked to deep information processing. You don't just hear words, you read tone, intent, the emotions underneath, and that costs energy. So look at this differently. You're not antisocial, you're selective. While many people collect friends by the numbers, you sift through sand to find gold. And refusing to lower your standard for connection is not loneliness, it's integrity. But here's the part most people miss. Because the second reason is why being alone often feels easier to breathe than standing in the middle of a crowd. Reason 2, you feel most alive when you're alone. Before we go any further, let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that you feel your best, your clearest, and your most focused when you're completely by yourself? Not because you're avoiding people, but because that's when you can work, think, or create without interruption. For many people, a quiet evening feels empty, but for you, that's when your system finally turns on. This is often misunderstood as being odd, but if you look deeper, it's tied to how your brain prioritizes long-term goals. Surface-level socializing cuts straight through your focus, and that disruption is not small for you. Research in evolutionary psychology has pointed out an interesting paradox. For most people, more social interaction is linked to greater happiness. But for individuals with higher cognitive capacity, too much socializing actually lowers life satisfaction. Not because they dislike people, but because they need silence to think deeply and solve complex problems. So, if you've ever been called strange simply because you enjoy being alone, you're probably not out of place. You're just using your brain the way it was designed. And if you think that was already heavy, the third reason is why many introverts don't crash until they finally get home. Reason 3, you're not tired from talking. You're tired from feeling. Right now, I want you to slow down for a moment. Have you ever left a gathering without knowing exactly why you felt exhausted? Not tired from speaking, but tired inside. A heavy chest, a tense mind. And when you get home, you just want to shut everything off. You may have asked yourself, am I too sensitive? Is something wrong with me? If so, you're probably not weak. You simply feel more. When someone shares something painful, you don't just hear it. You feel it in your body. When someone is tense, your body tightens too. And after being around many people, you're not just drained. It's as if you've been carrying too many emotions at once. Most people have an invisible shield. You don't. Or more accurately, you chose not to wear one. So having too many relationships at the same time stops being enjoyable. It becomes overload. In psychology, this is often linked to a highly active mirror neuron system. Simply put, you understand others through your own nervous system. And that's why limiting the number of friends isn't about disliking people. It's about protecting your capacity for genuine care. You can't dive deep with 20 people at once. And that is completely normal. Reason 4, you don't need other people to tell you who you are. Pay attention to how you live. You're not constantly chasing praise, attention, or approval. When a decision needs to be made, you think it through on your own first. And silence doesn't scare you, it steadies you, because your self-worth isn't powered from the outside. In psychology, this is linked to an internal locus of control, which means this: you don't let your happiness depend on other people's reactions. So, from the outside, some may think you're cold, but in reality, it's inner security. You don't need a crowd applauding to know you're living honestly, and that's why you don't need many relationships to feel complete. Reason 5, your brain runs on a different kind of fuel. Finally, this is the most important biological piece. Have you ever wondered why being alone feels calming to you, while others find it suffocating? The answer is in your nervous system. Extroverted brains are often driven by dopamine, the chemical tied to excitement, stimulation, and external rewards. Your brain, however, leans more toward acetylcholine. This is the chemical that creates a sense of ease when we focus deeply, think clearly, and sit in quiet awareness. In other words, when you're alone, your brain isn't understimulated. It's being fed the right fuel. So don't call yourself boring. You're designed for sustainability, not short bursts of pleasure. While many people are afraid to be alone with their thoughts, you find peace there. And that's why you have fewer friends, not because you lack something, but because your inner world is already full. If you've made it this far, you've probably asked yourself at least once, is there something wrong with me? So let me say this clearly. You're not broken. You're not misplaced. And you are not failing at being human. You simply have a different brain, a different nervous system, a different way of connecting. And this world has learned to celebrate only what's loud. Remember this, I don't have fewer friends because I lack something. I have fewer friends because I choose depth. If that line landed with you, hold on to it. You don't have fewer friends because you're bad at socializing. Your brain just filters out what isn't real. You don't enjoy being alone because you're avoiding life. Silence is fuel for your intelligence. You're not tired of people. You're tired because you feel deeply. You don't need many relationships to feel worthy because your value doesn't come from applause. And you're not boring. Your brain simply runs on a different path to happiness. So let me ask you one honest question. The last time someone asked you, why do you have so few friends? Or, I never see you hanging out with anyone. What did you do? Did you stay quiet, laugh it off, or turn it against yourself? Because there's a bigger question coming next. How do you find truly high-quality people when you hate small talk and social games? There is a way to attract real connection without pretending and without wearing a mask. I'll reveal that in the next video. Until then, enjoy your quiet. I'll see you soon.